Hi! Welcome to GFW Radio. This is Jeff Green of Games for Windows, the official magazine. It's January 23rd, 2008. We're back after a 4-day weekend. Woohoo! And we're here to podcast for you. And I'm here with the usual gang.
Ryan Scott.
Conan. And Sean Malloy.
And Sean, you get these kind of like almost like Tourette's like memes going in your head. You've been saying Conan for the last
You're talking about Conan online.
half
Conan
hour.
the game.
Yeah, Age of Conan. Let's jump right into the news, shall we? Age of Conan got bumped to May 20th from its release. It got bumped 2 more months, which is ironical because
Ironical.
I'm using that word in jest.
Verily ironical.
I know the real word because we just wrote that up for our big delay of game story. I'm sorry. I can't have a serious conversation because Sean Elliott is grooming the yellow hair on this green
Monstrous.
frog that we got here in the office that sings Britney Spears songs.
And
Yeah,
That was a sample
I brought this
there.
down. This is Crispin Boyer. EGM's infamous for his love of animatronic bullshit. And this is from the series called Frogs. Rocket, Rapid, Ribbit. And
Frogs is with a Z.
the back of
Yeah.
the box says, yo, cuz, they got the clothes, the moves, the style. For real, yo. Collect them all. And then you can also get 90s versions. The good thing about this, though, is that it's a Britney Spears frog in like a pink workout outfit. Except Crispin
that what that is?
ripped off the animatronic hands so that there are like these motorized plastic stubs protruding from the torso. And then he tore out one of the eyes and pulled the stuffing out and then replaced it with some other gross, veiny Halloween eye on the one side. But anyway, yeah,
Crispin has some issues.
it's really nice looking. You just set it on your desk.
Why does Crispin feel the need to buy these things and then destroy
He's a
them?
mad scientist. He was, he was originally employed at Disneyland in the Hall of Presidents, and he was fired when the you might have seen the video on YouTube when the Abraham Lincoln sort of collapsed over, and the audio file just like got all super low and messed up.
So this
he was,
is
like,
it. It
doing
all
that.
goes back to that trauma.
Fourscore, and then they fired him, and ever since he's kind of like been.
So
doing
that's why
these-
he now defaces
doing these things. Yeah.
animatronic frogs. Yeah, this thing really disturbs me.
It epitomizes all the things in the world that should never have been made, things that shouldn't exist, and it's.
It's $9.99.
I think that's Crispin's way of saying, I don't know. But actually, he buys them, so that's the first thing you shouldn't do when you want to protest the existence of pink jumpsuited Britney Spears frogs that sing
Did he
Hit
buy
Me,
it?
Baby one more time.
Are you sure he bought it?
Well, or someone got it
Or
to
he
him.
stole it.
Yeah. I'm not buying it.
I like it
Stealing
says faux real yo on the back.
We get a lot of stuff in the games industry that's along the same lines. Promotional products for games that
I can picture that coming with like a
forthcoming.
Game Boy Advance copy of Frogger.
That would never come with a PC game because we're a more sophisticated
Oh, yeah.
crowd.
We get no such tchotchkes.
We don't mean like, well, they do that in stores too. So like a lot of like listeners will be thinking like, when you pre-order a game and you get like a sweat towel or something, but this is just sometimes for any given game they might week after week, for over a period of 2 months, send something loosely related to the game. It's manufactured the
Yeah.
other side of the world.
To me, this is just one of these end of civilization kind of objects. I mean, who the fuck would buy one of these? Who would be at a store thinking, I know what my kid needs?
Yeah, feeling
A frog that sings Britney Spears songs with a bunch of faux urban language on the box.
on the side. Yeah, feeling fine and fat. PHAT.
When I'm in a store
Yeah.
and I see a row of those, I just like to get them all started at once and then go away.
I feel sorry for kids that grow up with that thing.
Right. Maybe it's their only toy. Maybe it's their only friend.
It's making me sad. You ever have this
I'm
like a
projecting
weird attachment?
from my childhood.
I would have this weird like empathy for inanimate objects, just for everything in the world.
Well, like a block of wood.
But inanimate objects, not to that level, but like if you see like an especially like dopey looking toy or something, like we used to shop in the thrift store when I was little, when we were poor, and you'd see like some doll or something, and I just feel bad for it, like a stuffed animal, a cat or something. I'd feel bad for it, like, oh man, But not even just like anthropomorphic or animalistic things like that. Just it could be anything. It just I feel sorry that thing makes me sad looking at it.
Well, I don't feel sorry for the thing. I feel sorry that like people spent their time making it, and then somebody spent the time buying it to put in their store.
A lot of
somebody else.
There's a lot of effort that goes into
the fuel to transport it across the world, and then when it arrived here,
right?
Then to get it into the to the warehouse, and then to the store.
I'm ready for our ape overlords to take over. Don't you think?
Yeah, I guess so. I can tell you,
Caesar and his crowd could do a better job.
Alarming news this morning. I have NPR as my alarm, and I wake up and I'm hearing about imminent stock market crash and how narrowly a reduction in interest rate averted a catastrophic crash the past 2 days. This morning, worldwide, yesterday, but it was bank holiday. We're going into politics.
Yeah, we're reading different news stories because the first news story I read was that Amy Winehouse was photographed smoking a pipe.
Yeah.
So we're watching different news.
When you think about that, though, that's the face of the world, and you're like, and yet we're still feeling fine and fat. Not feeling so fine.
Not for long.
Well, let's get on to critical news in the PC gaming land.
All right, okay.
That's what really matters in the world. So what was I saying? That Age of Conan got delayed for 2 months. And we just wrote about that in our delay of game feature. But at that point, we didn't even know it was going to get delayed again.
Again, right. I think it was supposed to be late March by the time we wrote that.
Right.
So now it's May something?
Now it's May 20th. The press release says... Funcom announces a new release date for Age of Conan Hyborian Adventures. The highly anticipated MMO receives 8 more weeks of development, allowing Funcom to deliver a more polished MMO experience when the game launches on the 20th of May. Despite great feedback on vital aspects like immersion, fun factor, and the exciting combat system.
This is fun factor?
It says fun factor, yeah. The management of Funcom has decided to polish the game even more. 8 weeks, this is great news. 8 weeks of development work is therefore added to stress game systems and polish the game further leading up to launch.
More importantly for me, at least, that Left 4 Dead was pushed back as well.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
For how long?
It's now summer is the stated release window. And that was from March, which was unusually specific. Actually, this is typical. This is now... I mean, and I was the one who was like, everyone's like, come on, it's Valve. Why you keep saying it's March?
Right.
You know it's not.
And
I'm always like, okay, but I played it, and it's so good and close to being done. Like, I can't imagine them not having it done then. But they're perfectionists, and their games benefit from it. But at the same time, it's like, now, just don't take any.
In Funcom's case,
serious from
given their previous track record, it's probably good that they're taking more time. If you just go back in history to like the Anarchy Online launch, which was one of the early fiascos of MMO launches, mostly because of its bugginess at the time.
Yeah, it was messy.
More time here, but then of course it just begs the question: how much do you get out of 8 weeks? That's not really a long time in the big scheme of things.
You get polish.
The videos
you get polish. You get more fun factor.
They still look pretty bad. They're not.
It's an MMO.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no getting around it. It's not any more advanced in terms of like, because every MMO has the same problem of like, you got a bunch of guys milling around that are making contact with the air. That's got the same thing going on.
It is. It's all very much like Darkon and live action role playing. Like, there's just the bad guy. You get the feeling that the bad guy is like, all right, I'll be the guy who gets hit with who pretends to get hit with the foam core sword and dies this time.
No, I'm not going to have you reduce a genre that I personally love.
I'm not saying that doesn't mean that the genre is crap. It just means that the combat looks like it's from Darkon.
Okay, well, that's true.
It could be. That's not a bad thing, depending on, there's a lot more to those games than clearly.
Of course there is. And the other big thing today was WoW announcing, or Blizzard announcing that WoW hit 10 million. 10 million subscribers.
How long ago? It took a while to get from 9 to 10.
It did. I'm surprised they're going up still. I was expecting like the last announcement to be like, maybe that's it. Maybe it's going to start.
Well, that's what freaked me out about the last NPD numbers was that for the PC when WoW was number 2, I think. It's like, because that means people are still buying the original retail box.
Right.
That wasn't even Burning Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
What was number 1?
Call of Duty 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's been selling well.
Yeah.
That's all there is to say. All there is to say.
It has been. I like that
games.
game. Yeah.
No, I don't mean I'm just saying like whatever. I mean, I'm just saying I don't care to get into some extent.
No, we don't play the numbers game here.
But
which is why we're all
glad. I'm glad it's selling well. You know, I mean, Infinity Ward was recently complaining about piracy, and you know, probably justifiably so. People are ripping their game off, but at the same time, I know that I suspect that it is selling well.
I think Call of Duty 4 is also mainstream enough of a franchise that there's going to be tons of people who would be the kind of gamers who do not pirate, who would be interested in this particular title.
Right. They need to do something about it's another problem that's specific. It's not entirely specific to PC, but it's more of a problem on PC than other platforms, and that's just cheating and whatnot. And the Call of Duty games have like just been plagued by it ever since the original. Punkbuster, for whatever reason, I mean, they handle it all for those the people that aren't playing through Steam and didn't buy it that way. And it's just people subvert the Punkbuster anti-cheat stuff like on a daily, hourly basis. And the game is like Call of Duty 4 is more tempting than ever to hack because with since you could shoot through walls normally, being able to see through walls with, you know, any kind of wall hack or like glowing skins, chams and stuff they call them, it's tempting, and then people just
is Punkbuster foolproof against that kind of stuff though?
No, not at all. I mean, what they'll do is there's I know all this because when I play it, you always suspect someone's cheating. That piece of shit's cheating. So you look at the kill cam and you see it, and then you go and you're like, and everyone always goes, every cheater, no one ever comes out and says, yeah, I'm cheating. You know,
right?
Yeah, always like, and you know what's
funny?
Every
loser always thinks the other guy's cheating, though.
I've like in my mind, I'm like absolutely positive that I've figured out that leaders of clans and stuff. We're playing on some clan server, and they're supposed to be all some big, you know, massively, you know, known clan, and it's like their fucking admin is a total hacker, and they're like doing the arguments like, dude, it's impossible to hack this game. You can't hack it. I'm like let me tab out right now and just put in like multiplayer COD4 cheats and see what I get. There's a ton of them. You go to like multiplayer cheats.de or whatever is one of the big hubs for them. You see there's like tons and tons, and every day that Punkbuster picks one up, like within an hour, someone has a new one, and they're just playing that game. So yeah. I hope we can get some way around that, but
I mean, I wouldn't even. That's such a turnoff right there to even picking it up. Just knowing that. Why would I play that? Just knowing that how many people on the server, even one person doing that is ruining it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's easy enough to get on a server where people seem to be cool, isn't it? I mean,
you can. I mean, and it helps if you know admins, if they're active admins in the server, and they'll pick it out. If anyone's even like slightly blatant about it, they'll just kick you out right away. You know, you see people get kicked, and yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of there, and it's not like I don't want to to the Infinity Ward guys. I'm not trying to say that their game's the only one that this happens to, but it's like in my experience, this is it's just been epidemic. Even COD2 was the same way, and it's Punkbuster's fault, I guess. I mean, that's who they're relying on to solve that issue for their game, and then ultimately it's the fault of the people that do it. You know, I mean, really, that's where the blame is, of course, but.
Right. Well, you know, it's easy enough to cheat, as you're saying. It's easy enough to get away with it, and it's easy enough to justify to yourself when you're just sitting at home anonymously behind your screen and nobody knows who the hell you are. You know, if you're even remotely inclined to do that and don't have a moral issue with it.
Yeah, I think
PC gaming makes it pretty easy to do.
Any
game.
What we know about people, it's human nature to cheat. When people believe they can get away with cheating, more often than not, they do. You know, cynical view of our species, but I mean, I think most sociological experiments.
How about
show
in school?
Did
you cheat in school ever?
Kind of depends on the stakes and stuff too. You know, I mean, like I never cheated in school.
You never wrote down vocabulary words on the back of your hand or the back of your desk.
I don't remember doing that.
Did you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
What? I did it one time that I remember. So that's why I'm asking, because I feel bad. I resign right now on air for having cheated on my 7th grade English test. Well, here's the thing. The teacher had written the vocabulary words and the definitions up on the blackboard. And then we were going to have a test on them that day. And right before the test started, she still hadn't erased them. So people in the class were like giggling and shit because, she was about to give the test. And then, she's like, was everybody laughing about it? And, we turned her around and showed her the answers were all on the blackboard. So she erased it. But before she did that, I wrote down a few that I hadn't memorized onto, my hand. So I did cheat in that one case.
Hey, man, we copped.
You still remember that?
Oh, sure. Of course I remember that.
You must feel really guilty in that.
I do. It haunts me to this day. I apologize to Milliken Junior High School in Van Nuys, California, for having cheated on that vocabulary test. I wanted to ask you guys about something else I've been thinking about this weekend, and answered it as honestly as you can, because it relates to the stuff I've been thinking about the piracy, the Call of Duty 4 and the Crysis stuff that we went over a little bit before. And that is, what is your take on and your actions regarding music downloading piracy?
Oh, shit.
Sean's making faces here. And whether you think it's relevant or not.
Oh, God. It should be. That right there, examining my own, I should have some sort of cognitive dissonance here. But I don't. It's like I don't. It's weird. Like, I will get albums. Like, if I can get an album 4 months before it comes out. And, I mean, I'm very particular about the types of music I listen to. So I will go and buy the stuff when it is made available. But yeah, it's tempting when it's one of your favorite artists and you can hear it 4 months before it's out. But it's like, at the same time, I'd never ever think of pirating a game in any way, shape, or in any form, shape, or fashion. And it's like, why is that difference there? Is it because it's a higher price for the one? And I don't think so. Maybe it's just because I work in the business. I don't know. What is that?
Do you think it would be more tempting to you if you didn't work in the business? If you had to pay for every purchase of
I don't know. Maybe it would. Yeah. I mean, like, say if you were someone and you're like, hey, you can get Crysis and it's like a week before. You've been waiting for 2 years for it and you get to play it. And then you tell yourself, oh, I'll buy that when it comes out. And then you already beat it.
And of course you don't. Yeah.
That's why I do have to make a point of pre-ordering the CDs that I now and then get.
Police your own ethics.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
I haven't downloaded music in a long time. Like,
but if
every once in a while someone will say, hey, I got this in my folder. And I'll be like, okay, I'll listen to that.
You wouldn't just go, I really shouldn't do that.
No, God, no.
There's the other thing, too. Like, I mean, it's all, I don't know, it's hard. It's all moral equivocation and excuse making. Because you're like, I'll recommend something to you, Jeff, and I'll be like, well, I know I have the CD at home. But instead of bringing it in, I can just get it in like 2 minutes, or I have it like on an iPod or something. And
you've given me some things recently, and I've taken them. Right? You gave me the last couple.
But I do have
all
those. I have the CDs for.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I don't know. I guess you could legally make a copy of the CD.
Right. Well, different.
This is what happens every time you talk about piracy, though. Instead of it just being this, you want it to be some sort of black and white issue, but it's all like infinitely expanding gray area.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I'm bringing it up, because it is a tough issue. I mean, I definitely fall in line of that. I think it's a horrible thing in PC gaming, and yet I can look on my own iPod and probably find a good, I don't know. Most, the grand majority of stuff is stuff that I paid money for, like a good 96% at least. But there's 10, 20 albums on there that I got from folks around 1UP that weren't mine, I never actually went to a download site to, I never actively sought out CDs to pirate.
But if it lands in your lap, you're like, well, okay.
Right, but if someone says, hey, I got the new Shins, you want it?
And you'd be like, I wouldn't have bought it, so sure, why not?
Right. Now, in some cases, if I felt guilty enough, and it is, say, an indie band, then I will try to go out and supplement it if I like it.
That's
and actually
kind of
buy
the thing, too, I think, where the guilt plays a part is when for me, they are bands, and I know they sell very, very few copies of the albums they make. And it's kind of the same way with PC, where you're like, well, do you want to keep playing PC games? Well, then don't fucking steal them.
Yeah.
And it's the same way for some people. It's like if it's a case of like some major artist or something, you're like, it doesn't matter. They're making a profit no matter what. But if you, and I'm just like kind of again playing devil's advocate on this one with like the way I think that people make different excuses depending on the specifics of each case, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, you personally feel like, yeah, you like this artist, and you're just guaranteeing that they're gonna have to do twice as many live shows to put food on their table.
Right.
Then you feel like a shithead about it. And the same with PC, you're like, it's really to the point. If everyone continues to do this shit, like no one is going to spend. It's not going to be cost effective to spend all that money on your budget to make this game.
Right.
So
Right.
the majority of people can go fucking take it for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a trial subscription to emusic.com. Have you heard of this site? Because what they do, I'm not pimping it.
E-music.
That's
I'm
what
just
it's called.
laughing though because it sounds like such a grandpa thing. Have you heard about e-music?
Have you heard about electronic mail?
Yeah.
You can type messages now and send them over the information superhighway.
It totally sounds
no.
like, eMusic sounds like one of the first sites ever because they all had E.
Yeah, actually, that's true. It actually does go way back. But I got turned on to it by the Quarter to Three gang, and they their model is really interesting because you're paying well, there's different models, but like the one that I'm signed up for, it's $10 a month, and for $10 you get 30 downloads a month. So that's, on average 3 CDs a month.
Yeah.
For $10, which to me seems ridiculously cheap, almost to the point of almost being wrong somehow. Like how are the artists? I can't figure it out.
Because it's like you're going to steal it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind
someone's going to steal it. They're like,
that's what
better
Radiohead
to get
did
5
with
cents for it than to get nothing.
That's what Radiohead did with their last album. They're just like, you know what, you're probably going to download it, give you a chance to pay for it if you want. Or
that's what was so ridiculous about continuing to charge $18 for a CD as long as they did.
Yeah.
To the point when the majority of people who were previously buying the most CDs were the ones that had the best access to the free ones.
Right. Well, we all like Radiohead here, except I don't know about Ryan. Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Look at the disdain on Ryan's face right now.
I mean, they're like
one of the more hateful looks I've ever seen.
They're like the YouTube.
Oh yeah, they're rich motherfuckers. So like,
they're just,
well, yeah, they can get away with it. Okay, but did any of us I paid a little money for In Rainbows? I did. Did you? I'm not saying that like I'm better than you because I didn't pay that much.
I think no,
I paid a little bit.
I paid $0 because I was gonna. My plan again was to buy the physical one because I still collect physical media of things. I wanted to buy the disc box or even if they released the CD. That was my thought. I doubt that's going to happen, but at the time I entered £0 and clicked checkout. So, and I think they released the study that said like 66% of the people who downloaded it didn't pay anything for it.
Wow.
I think that's what the actual final stats were.
that's true.
That's not. I mean, you can't be surprised by that, right?
It's just another.
Would you
one
like
of those,
this free or would you like to pay?
Sociological experiment,
Yeah.
But
What
don't
were we
you
talking
think?
about?
I don't know. Do we have a topic?
We got plenty.
We got a lot. No, but I mean, there's some other point right in this very conversation that we diverged from for a second.
About ganking-ish. Yeah, when you brought up Radiohead, you seemed to be making some point.
I did.
Gone now.
Let's rewind. I don't remember.
Well, let's talk about this. News just came out yesterday, and the image of our next cover for Battlefield Heroes. This was the game that I was alluding to over the past few weeks, and about how excited I am to talk about it. And unfortunately, I still can't say much because, we don't want to scoop our magazine. So as soon as the magazine does, start hitting subscribers and stuff, then I'll be able to have a thorough discussion of it on the podcast. But it's been interesting to see the reactions, and we could talk about that certainly right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess if people don't know and haven't seen the news,
And it's
you want to
frustrating.
just tell them basically what it is.
Okay, so EA basically announced that their next Battlefield game, called Battlefield Heroes, is going to be entirely free to play. That they expect to make a profit on it through advertising, none of which will appear in the game itself. In other words, you're not going to be playing the game and looking at ads on the walls or even ads on billboards like we're in Battlefield 2142. All advertising is going to be hosted on the page that you access the game in, and then in the social network and community that's surrounding it. That's really interesting, the options that they have in there. But again, I don't think I can go into depth about it right now.
Tease.
But soon. And then the possibility of microtransactions. And again, they publicly clarified that this isn't going to be a matter of the rich buying their way to victory over and over again. You buying the best guns and vehicles and weapons. And so one of the, not only is it interesting to sort of watch people respond to it, but it's frustrating in that you see a lot of these just serious misconceptions about how the thing is going to work. And you want to jump in and go, no, actually it's not like that at all. Or, so again, you got to wait on it, but it's definitely not the case. From what I know and from what I've seen, yeah, don't worry. Jeff's not going to buy himself, a V1 rocket and drop it on your guys' base because he wanted to spend $20 in Battlefield funny money that you guys weren't willing to spend.
Yeah, we right, and we're not trying to be obnoxious with it. We will discuss it in depth when we can.
Absolutely. I would love to now. It's like I just don't, we make a magazine too, and that's what pays our rent, and we need to sell that magazine, so we got to let that story come out.
I'm actually fairly certain, even if we wanted to, I think we might still be embargoed. So. Okay, right. But other things that, we can talk about because they were in the announcement of the game are, the style, right? Right.
Between our cover image and then the one image of a character, everyone's immediately responding, oh my God, they ripped off Team Fortress 2. And that's another...
They've taken like this kind of cartoony,
that's another
hyper-real style.
Interesting discussion to have. I guess, of course I asked them, it's great too, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, we all this stuff is covered in depth in the story. But as far as I could say now, think about it this way. Team Fortress 2 ended up looking the way it does because it had always been this game where, ridiculous stuff. Guys using grenades to propel themselves across a bridge that's about 20 yards long and separates bases that exist in this random world where it's nothing but a red base and a blue base facing one another. And they said, what do we do with this to make sense of it? We've had that discussion before. Similarly with Battlefield, it's been the game where, you can wing walk. If you want someone's already flying the plane, but you want to get across the map quickly, you jump on the wing and lay down and he flies you. You throw TNT in the back of your Jeep, drive that into the enemy, jump out and blow that up, or you put TNT on the ground, drive over it and have an ally hit the plunger on it right as you're going up a hill, and that way you launch. You can, in the original Battlefield 42, it always changed throughout the patches, but there were things where you could jump a Jeep off of like Wake Island onto an aircraft carrier out to the sea off the shore, and it's never been a sim game. It's never been Armed Assault. It's not, like Forgotten Hope or any of these other Red Orchestra. And it's like, what happens when let's take this and run with it and know that this is crazy. It's always been like fundamentally cartoony in the way that players dealt with it. Another old habit that was patched out, and they always have to decide what they want to embrace and what they want to remove, is people were like, hey, you get hit with the tank shell or something, it doesn't kill you on impact, but it throws you 40 feet in the sky, and when you hit the ground, you're going to die. And then they start popping their parachutes. So it's like, someone drops a bomb on you, you see 10 guys fly, and 5 of them hit their parachutes and land out of it. They still take some damage, but they don't die. And it's like, that was totally fun. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get rid of that because it's not realistic?
Right.
Do you want to, or because of balance issues, or do you want to say, hey, actually, let's do that?
Right. So you're saying that to some extent they both independently, arrived at the position of, our game is not realistic from the start, so let's just cartoon it up and let's take it to the extreme.
DICE's original stuff, like Codename Eagle and stuff, it's always been a part of the company's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Again, without preempting the story, I could say that it's not a case where. And again, I'm not going to just defend this game because we got the exclusive on it. I'm absolutely committed to being like objective and giving my response to the game and the story as someone who's been a Battlefield fan for as long as the series has been around, and what I am genuinely taking from it, how I'm reacting from it. But that's one of those things where it's like, I do see that. I do see that style makes sense for the game. a cartoony style makes sense for some version of the game. Because again, this is not Battlefield 3, which I believe they're still making. And the other thing is just the whole like inspiration and imitation thing is always difficult because you go, I mean, you know, UT3, right? I mean, always looked like Doom. I mean, the way that the characters are and stuff, and it gets to this point where you're like, well, whatever, you know? I mean, people are seeing squish tanks on the cover and they're saying, oh, well, that's a total ripoff of Battalion Wars. But it's like, well, Metal Slug was squishing tanks proportionally well before Battalion Wars and other things before Metal Slug, that part of a tradition that Metal Slug's actually drawn from, you know? There's just super deformed Japanese series and things like, you know, SF3D and Machine and Krieger even it had some of that aesthetic.
Well, I'll go even one further. Let's say that EA didn't even come up with Battlefield Heroes until after TF2 came out, which we know is not true. We know the development history that there was some simultaneous stuff going on. But let's say that it was. Even if that was the case and EA just said, boy, that TF2 sure is popular. Let's make our own and let's make it free. I would still say that's awesome. I mean, as long as the game is good, like you can go ahead and be inspired by that thing if you can do your own good job on it. And the very fact, again, that this is free and that it's not Battlefield 3 means, I mean, me personally, just as a gamer, I'm willing to give this thing the benefit of the doubt. From the start,
it's an
at the
important
moment.
point.
I think that's
Go, Sean.
I think that's kind of key because I'm not one to even like really care about the Battlefield series so much. Like I was kind of into the idea of 2142 just because it didn't take place in World War II or, you know, the usual setting. We've had this discussion before. It's like, oh, there's World War II again. But really for me it was like, oh, science fiction setting is just more aesthetically appealing to me. And then I heard it kind of was crap, so then I didn't bother. But this one, because it's free and because it's got that more, you know, accessible look to it, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Right.
The huge point about that, the fact that it's free, is that you can try it and see for yourself. So it's kind of, I don't know, I was about to say alarming. It's more disconcerting for me to see so many people just dismissing it altogether. Like, oh, this is the game version of the crappy music CDs that come for free in tabloid magazines, you know? And
this is also the online community, so of course their initial reaction is negative.
But the fact
there's a new game that looks like shit.
It's because it's free and it runs on, it'll like, you know, again, I can't announce the system specs, but chances are it's going to run on your computer. You could just see for yourself. That's the end of the story, you know? You just like you're like, hey, even if it doesn't strike me as being the coolest thing ever, you could find yourself in a circumstance where you can at least try it, and then the game has the option of winning you over, making you a fan that way. And that's the key point about it being free for me, because a lot of times I don't agree that like because something comes without a charge is like a get out of criticism pass, you know. A lot of times when people are ripping on our podcast or something, defenders step in and, you know, bless them for defending us. But I don't agree with their defense when they're like, it's free, shut up. Because it's like, no, cable TV or network TV shows are free and some of them suck. And you
can say that.
That doesn't mean that they're like free from criticism and than anything else that costs money. Tons of stuff. I've had it happen. I've been playing mods, and you know, if you're having a discussion with people in the game as you're playing, people go, well, "Shut the fuck up! It's free. It's a mod." You always have that discussion. It's like, well, it's costing people their time. That's the thing,
right? And
time is money, son. So I'm gonna bring it back to that. But you're costing people time. That's frogs right there, man. It's hooking me up. Rocket, rabbit, rocket, ribbit. There we go.
I like frabbit.
So it is costing your time, but that's the thing. The accessibility, and what's so cool about this format for me is that you can be in any kind of community. You can sort of like have your instant messenger window open, and you know, the usual people you talk to. You can be in a Ventrilo server, which is cool for me. I've been doing that more and more. We have just this dedicated vent server, and we go in and there's always a group of us in there, and we all might be in there. Some of us might be in there, and then you can just spontaneously say, you know, what are we going to do right now? What are we going to play? And when the game is free like that, you know, we've been playing like Second Life and this other playing Second Life because you can just say, hey, let's do it. Everyone can download it in 5 seconds and everyone can play. And it's not a matter of like, well, so-and-so doesn't have the latest expansion or so-and-so doesn't have this game. And this is exactly the kind of game that can pick up an audience that way, because you're having these discussions, and all of a sudden, instead of arguing about whether or not it sucks without having played it, you just say, hey, let's all, you being the people on the message board or wherever, your MySpace group, Facebook, and just say, let's just go do this right now.
And really, EA is picking this idea up from some of these games that have been doing that already. The Kart Riders and some of the other Korean games that have already pretty successfully experimented with this model. And it's a free download that can, down the line, lead to purchases, whether a little or a lot, over time. Or
like television, like a show like Lost or something.
Right.
And again, these are going to be part of the way that the game gets you to come back. Is it means that they know that the makers of the content, because they're not just selling you something at one point, making their money and that's it, need to satisfy you enough so that you get other people to want to buy it, and then that when they make a sequel, you come back. But on such a regular basis that you're going to come and see the ads.
Right.
So the way that Lost or Battlestar or The Wire or something hook you, and where you're ready to come back every week, and this game is going to have to do something like that too. And that, just again, the hint is that it's going to be changing a lot. It's going to be expanding a whole lot if it's provided that it has an audience.
I remember when the Nexon folks were here showing Kart Rider way back, and unfortunately I just don't remember the number, but I asked them, over time, like, what is the percentage of people who spend money on the downloads versus just play it for free? And the number was tiny. It was a tiny percentage, but I asked them if that was enough to run the game and make them a profit, and in fact the answer was yes. That it doesn't take
have
much.
To have ads on their site as well too, right?
Right.
Same thing. Yeah, you've got MapleStory and RuneScape and all these other other games are from some of those are from like RuneScape, are from UK, but the rest are they big in Korea or made in Korea.
Right, and so just from hearing them talk about that, my feeling, without knowing, because you're the one who did the story. I mean, I read what you wrote, but I don't know the details that didn't make it in or whatever. But my understanding is that EA might entirely believe in their business model that most people are probably never going to buy something associated with Battlefield Heroes ever,
right?
And they don't care, and they'll still be providing new content all the time. And I don't know. I sound like I'm defending the game too, which I'm not. I haven't even seen it.
It may turn out that it absolutely sucks, but at this stage, we're being charitable because I haven't seen anything that's made me believe, that's leading me to suspect that it really will suck.
Well, I think we're being charitable because it's a huge announcement. This is one of the two biggest game publishers,
right,
in the United States, announcing that a major game franchise is coming out with a free game. So,
well, I think the naysayers are saying nay just because they do associate it immediately with something like MapleStory or RuneScape or Kart Rider, all these other ones that just like hardcore gamers just don't touch.
Where there's not much of a game there.
Yeah, they just know what it is, and
stuff.
they're like, oh, so it's probably MapleStory for Battlefield. And I don't even know what that would be if that's what it is.
It's the free Flash version of Battlefield.
I think that's probably the basic assumption, even though they haven't seen anything in action. They pretty much have only seen an art style and a logo.
It'll be interesting to see how well these do. I'm kind of thinking they're going to go over really well for the same reasons that Counter-Strike blew up to the extent that it did. Is that, I mean, it was a free mod, and for a base game that was cheap and that would run on a very wide range of rigs, and word of mouth would spread so rapidly, and it would be that much easier to get people into the games and playing with you. And there's tons of potential for that, and the same reason that id is pursuing it with their browser-based Quake game. So it'll be fascinating to see if all of a sudden the most played PC games, they're rather than gunning for system specs from 2 years from now, 3 years from now, they want their game to run on the laptops that everyone already has, the ones that they got that they didn't buy to be gaming computers, but
right. That's why WoW just hit 10 million subscribers.
Right.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me that I finally installed Crysis this weekend after reading the posts about about system specs not being about it being a bit of a myth.
Right.
So I wanted to see, because I have a fairly low-end rig. Low-end, well, not really. I mean, let me say...
Yeah, please. What do you have, Jeff?
Let me say that there's an 8800 GT in there. Okay,
You're calling that
low end.
But the processor, though, is a low-end processor. It's a few years old. I had to install and then uninstall Vista itself, because my machine could not handle Vista.
Weird.
Yeah. So that's the kind of rig it is. And
Frankenstein.
And Crysis, when I ran the what's it called? The automatic determine the best settings for me thing.
Yeah.
It said low. Okay. So that's where it was at, and so the resolution was 800 by 600. Every effect was on low, and I went in, and it looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I went back and I upped the res to 1024 by
768.
768, thank you. And I put a bunch of the settings on medium. I kept the ones that I knew were going to crash, were going to be a problem, like shadowing it low. And I went back in, and it significantly made it better. Like, it made it so it was like, okay, I'm now playing a relatively current generation shooter. I mean, it certainly looks nothing like what I saw on the fancy
how was
rig
the performance
here.
at that point? What about the physics?
It was fine.
Stuff?
The frame rate was fine.
Did you get to the part in the game where you're at least driving trucks through shacks and throwing grenades?
Yes, I could do all that. It looked fine. The only real problem I was having was the redraw rate. Just rocks were appearing like 4 feet in front of me all of a sudden as I was coming to them.
Yeah. Okay.
So that kind of sucked. But it was remarkable to me at that it was playing so well at that setting. I mean, it didn't look great. Like, the stuff that this game got mostly touted for in terms of its eye candy, I was largely missing out on. And I know I'm missing out on them because I've seen it running extremely well. I was like, I'm playing a different game than that game.
Right.
But I could still play this game.
I don't know. I think that does kind of defeat the purpose
Do
of
you?
it. It's not saying that the game is just its graphics, but the graphics are very, very important to the game.
Well, I would say, and that's what I was going to say next, though, was I'm only a few hours in, and a few hours in, though, if this was all this game was, if I hadn't seen it at its potential at a higher level, I might have wondered what the big deal was about here.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly story-wise and stuff like that, it is not knocking me off my feet so far. What is
I want
is
you
the
guys to
open-ended.
finish the thing so we can talk about the story.
Yeah, well, I've got a ways to go to
need to commit.
Oh my God, it's
We
so
need-
ridiculous.
I'm committed to finishing.
We like it only takes a little bit graphics wise to like break the illusion entirely for me. Like, you were just talking about the redraw distance of your rocks. Like,
Yeah.
if you had
Yeah.
cranked everything up and still had to drop that slider down, that's all that I would notice is like,
Yeah.
oh man, those rocks are popping in.
and
a
just
foot
being
from my
aware of
face,
how
no matter
much better it could be
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
much better it should be,
It's quite distracting.
It's like when
that
someone
one
buys a
thing.
new car. I remember my friend in college, he got himself like some Volkswagen or something, and then someone pointed out that it just had like stock wheels on it, like with hubcaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like he went from being so excited about his new car to like thinking about nothing other than the fact that he didn't have wheels.
See,
he had
yeah.
hubcaps. And like then he went and got eventually went and got the wheels, and we're like, why'd you do that? You couldn't afford the car as it was.
Yeah. Well,
Someone
and there
pointed
is
it out.
something disconcerting that even though my processor is fairly low, that I do have 2 gigs of RAM and an 8800, and it's still telling me you should play this in low. It is a little, it is a little discouraging.
It's for a future machine.
Yeah.
And it will, though. To be fair, it will. I think that it's a game that the sales it'll have legs and it will continue to sell, because every time someone upgrades their computer and gets something, they'll look, oh, that's the game I'll get now.
Tell you something else I found about it is it seems a little hard to me.
Yeah, it is actually.
Are you playing it on?
I think the guys
I'm playing it on normal.
I had this problem at first that the guys take, depending on the circumstances being your distance from the enemy, the weapon you're firing, the position you're firing from, all these things. It could take far too many shots to kill people. And that complaint was there from the demo they had. And it was hilarious because there was someone from the Dan Stapleton from PC Gamer put up a video, and it was like super defensive of like, maybe I'm just a god at FPS, or like, what's wrong? And he's like, here's a video to demonstrate that how easy it is to kill people. So what he did was he made a video of the first 3 guys that appear in the game. You know, when after you crash land and
and sort of a little tutorial in how to crawl
and
or
you crouch through the little grotto, and then there's these 3 guys there, and those are all guys that are like single shot kills no matter what, you know. So it's kind of like if someone were telling you that, you know, maybe the battle with Alma and Ninja Gaiden's too hard, so to prove you wrong, someone took a video of like the first enemy you fight in the game. It was pretty silly, but yeah, I think there's a problem with that. Sometimes it'll even happen. I couldn't understand exactly why, but with like a shotgun at near point blank range to center mass.
Well, I was noticing the same problem that I had with Far Cry, which is the dude's noticing you from way too far away and reacting to you, seeing you and reacting to you and shooting at you when it seems like there's no way they possibly could have. I mean, it bugged me back in that game, and I noticed it here. It didn't bug me as much, but I still did notice it.
There are always circumstances like that, and that's nothing I even felt like harping on them for, because it's that is the most difficult thing to do in a shooter. Anytime you introduce stealth into a game,
right?
And that's the difference between, you know, Kojima and the Metal Gear games. They say we'll show you some physical approximation in the way that the characters are looking around, but it's mainly just going to be a diagram, and that's going to appear in your map. Characters are either they walk a route, they're aware of you, or they're not aware of you, and that's just kind of determined by, you know, we're just gonna bullshit it, you know. Whereas like the Splinter Cell games, they've always tried to communicate it just through the world, and it's always stood out as being, I think, more annoying in the Splinter Cell games. And again, I should even have to make this disclaimer, but when I talk about there being something annoying in a game, doesn't mean I don't like the game, because I love the Splinter Cell games, I love the Metal Gear games.
But yeah, you still have those moments where like, man, he shouldn't have saw me.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have the
or he should have seen me.
You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like that guy just all of a sudden just snapped around, and you figure out, you're like, yes, there's like here's where the tripwire's at. And I crossed it, and I found those in Crysis. There were a few times when I did whatever I could to sneak around, and it's like boom. Then you're like, that's the exact trip. The alarm will go off the moment you go here.
Right.
For the most part, though, when I played that game, I didn't have that. And the cloaking is what made it tolerable.
Right.
Because it would immediately sort of turn them back to their... because all these games have it. Both Metal Gear, though, it has an actual timer, and it will show you the timer before they return to a normal state. Mm-hmm. Splinter Cell has the thing where it's that you hear an alarm go off, you know, and then they return to it. And then the old ones was really bad, though, actually, because they would just... if you set the alarm 3 times, like in Splinter Cell 2, they would just end the mission.
It would just be over.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and you need the reset. Even though it's like the most unrealistic thing in the world. Like, they saw you, they're not going to, like, after 30 seconds go, oh, I'm just going to go back to the kitchen and do what I was doing before, obviously.
Yeah.
But
and unrealistic to pull the plug on you when you're detected. Because it's like, okay, you're this guy, you're operating sort of outside official government sanction, and you're like in like some enclave in, you know, Thailand or something, and because you get detected, you guys like, fuck it, whatever. It's like, no, dude, you're gonna do what you have to
right. Yeah, I noticed that in Crysis even, is that when I would stealth, and the trigger would basically go off, and the guy would just go, huh. Oh well. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm crawling around your base, but you give up.
I see you. What's funny is the videos you look when they're because they can't swim, the enemy. You can lure them into the water.
Oh yeah.
Go invisible.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they'll sit there treading water for a second and go like, huh? I see you. And then all of a sudden, it just dies.
I did like the way that at one point I did like the way that I could hide in the water at one point, and that the boat that was on a, you know, there was a guard bard who was like, that was doing rounds looking for me, would shoot at me, and if I went underwater, it couldn't get me. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, but you'd still see the bullets pass.
Oh, I could see the bullets above my head in the water. It was kind of a neat effect. And I don't think I'm really complaining about the detection. I mean, I found it a little annoying, but it didn't turn me off.
If someone can prove to you that it really is within range to absolutely nail that, then you would. it would set the standard, but no one's ever done it.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to forgive because this is what happens. When you try to reach for these stars, you're always going to come up short in a few ways.
And I think it's
easy to hit the stretching point with that sort of AI. If you're looking to break it, you'll do it every time.
And I think I might be a little bit unfair to it because it was such a pet peeve of mine in Far Cry, where in Far Cry I do think it was a lot worse. In terms of the second you would round a corner,
and then that would
some sniper would take you out.
Yeah, from multiple positions.
So this isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing as why the rocks popping up bug me, because like the closer you get to like achieving perfect realism, the more obvious even the most minor faults are.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we are going to take a break and be back with
Conan.
3, 2, 1.
You're the best around.
Listen to EGM Live, the weekly podcast for Electronic Gaming Monthly, available every Monday for download at egmlive.oneup.com or podcast.oneup.com or the iTunes Music Store.
Sweep the leg! Sweep the leg, Johnny. Sweep the leg.
We're back. Ryan, put the book down.
It's a storybook.
Ryan's reading The Tale of the Cock, which we'll get
Oh, Jesus.
I can give you a tale of the cock.
Okay.
I really want this on record.
So last week, all that reminiscing about my time in Second Life just got me in the mood to go back. So
I knew this was going to happen.
That week, I think it was like that Friday night, we were all in Ventrilo, and like we, as usual, we're playing Company Heroes, and at some point we said, you know what? Let's all make Second Life accounts. Go have some fun. So that we did, and it was a great time. It was actually a lot of fun. And so the first thing about Second Life that it reminded me of, and that I think everyone should try it at some point. There's something just
to see
insanely unique about this game, and it's that you don't get from any other game. And it's because every bit of content in the world is generated by users on real estate that they pay for, and in communities that just form entirely from users, no NPCs or anything.
You are still calling this thing a game.
I am. It's a game to me. I make my own game out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And you go, so the fun of it is just going on these kind of weird walkabouts. Like, let's just see what we can see. So you start, you start walking through a town, and the most random things are appearing. You can also search and teleport to places just based on their name and how populated it says they are. And you put in search, and you'll see the craziest things. Like, you'll see like Bukkake Bliss. So we're like, no doubt.
Why not?
You can actually
there.
search on that term.
Oh, I just searched adult. Bukkake Bliss came up. So the first thing we did is made all of our characters, and there were 5 of us, and we remade these characters. And the character manipulation system in this game is just like the best, hands down. Nothing comes close. So if you imagine the most flexible character creation thing in a wrestling game, in Tiger Woods, whatever the case may be, take that and orders of magnitude more flexible, and then you have Second Life. Mm-hmm. So I was able to take my character, and the whole time you're doing this, you're laughing out loud. We were in tears just looking. You'd sit there and be like, all right, wait, turn your back to me. All right, turn around. And then when they would see what had happened to you, everyone immediately is just like choking and tearing up. So my character became this really like strangely hermaphroditic thing. And it had just the grossest eyes, and it's just a sunken face as though like it was like some mouth cancer or something, and the jaw was all like caved in, and then just giant eyelashes, and then like a big ass like it's kind of like a grown out black mullet. But then I gave it these big pendulous sagging breasts, like just real National Geographic type titties, and then I just a huge ass and super short. You can manipulate the love handles. And so it just took shape in front of me in a crazy ass waddle, because like the character is like just so like messed up, like the internal anatomy is so fucked up that it can barely walk. So then I started, we go to Freebie Island. This is another must stop for all you would be Second Life trekkers. Go to Freebie Island, and you can get yourself tons of free crap. You got clothes, whatever. So I got for myself some a lace bra for like, because some places you have to have clothes on. So, but then I got like lace panties. But I also had this like limp penis with the tattoo on it. But the game would figure out to make that like kind of hang through the side of the lace panties. And I got some pumps.
Is it normally part of the character creation process that you would like choose your anatomical parts?
No, that we got later and put them on.
All right.
And
so
we started hooking
Is
these
this
up.
penis considered part of your clothing? Like if you're walking
just
around in a
an
clothing
item.
area, like it's okay.
No, you have to put it. You have to put your dick
put it
away
away.
if you're in the right area. So like I did go to. Let me get there. I got to tell the story in order. So then we were like, okay, we got these messed up characters, and we went right back to like Amsterdam, which is where I did this story on the prostitution and stuff. That was the area I was familiar with. So we go there. They had a new head shop in town. Again, this is something created by a player. We go in there. I did a little shopping. I'll be honest. I didn't pay any real money. I had some Lindens. That's the in-game currency left over. And they had a beer hat, so I got that. It looked really nice on my character. And it's got even the straw, like the straw going into like the shriveled up mouth. I got a crack pipe that when I smoke it, it makes my head spin like an exorcist maneuver. You know?
Huh. So what? The crack pipe just has like automatic magic crack in it?
Yeah,
you don't have to
it's just
buy
loaded.
crack.
I didn't have to buy the
So
crack.
there's no dealers.
And then I got like a 4-foot bong that would, when I clicked a button, like a big puff of smoke comes out of it. So then, decked out, the character I just described to you, wearing nothing but the lace panties and the pipe and the beer hat. We went up to where all the prostitutes were, and where they're dancing and trying to pick up Johns, and I was just like, "You smoke, I poke." And then I'll hold out my bong. So we did all this, and there's just at this point, there's 5 of us, and it looks like, that movie Gummo? It's like Gummo, the video game, like Gummo's Night Out, Gummo's Bachelor Party. So we're all just these fucking despicable wrecks going around. And in that town, the fundamental thing about this game is that, for the most part, everyone in there takes it seriously. They operate by their own set of values, and they take it for granted that everyone's on the same page. And those values are that you take care of your character, that your avatar is your legitimately a second life. It's kind of like, this is you role play when you play this game. And so everyone has these, gorgeous looking characters, and the males are all like Guido'd out, like pretty boys, and so they see us, they don't know what to do. For one, it's like this is a world, where there are no deformities, there are no, technically there shouldn't be any of these things.
You have crashed the country club,
and they see
this is Caddyshack,
and so they see us. And this one guy, I started making fun of him because he had flip flops on, and they had like rhinestones on them. They're all like bejeweled. It was like his sister got a bedazzler and went crazy on his wardrobe, and you could tell he thought he was like totally like Swiss in this crap. So I started ripping this guy, and he's just like, "You guys are nerds. You guys are nerds." He's like, "These sandals are worth more than everything in your entire inventory." And we were like, "Oh yeah," because again, of course, to us, we're like, wow. Are you trying to help us fuck you up? Like, and then he started telling us that we look like shit and that he was going to fuck our avatars up. And then again, our characters, we just turned them in game to look at each other. And they kind of like the screwed up, like shriveled up faces looking at each other. Like, please do. Help us out. I think we're at the extent of how bad we can fuck our characters up. So if you got some other tricks, then please help us. He just kept going, and he's like, then I start telling everyone. At this point, it's like a real, an altercation was going on. And so, we get bystanders. People are walking up. But what's this commotion going on, right? So then I start telling everyone that this guy begged me to suck my dick in the alley in exchange, and he would pay me 40 linden if I let him do it. So you have to imagine, again, my character has to be in your mind's eye at all times. This like 4-foot hermaphrodite, the grossest thing ever, wearing this getup. And I'm telling everyone this guy owes me, and I let him do it. Now he won't pay me. And then
this is text chat, right?
This is text, although there's now audio. I'll get to that. You can now do voice chat. And so that was really getting him pissed off because it was embarrassing. You had to prove to people that I was lying. He wouldn't really do it. So then he started bragging about how he is a premium account holder. And I guess that's where, because the game is free for everyone else, and you pay for the money that you buy stuff with. Mm-hmm. But you start off, here's how I have money, is when you make your account I don't know if it's the same anymore, but at the time when I first made it, you get 500 free Linden. And that's what I've been slowly like trickling down to zero bank account on. The premium account, I don't know what it entails, but he was saying, you know, they always talk about the Lindens because of the family that started it. And it's like a kind of a weird cult, like a Jonestown thing. Because it's not like, you know, when you're playing, if you're playing Quake Online, someone's talking shit, you're not, well, I'm going to tell John Carmack on you. You know, it's like, but they're always talking about, well, I'm a premium account holder. The Lindens will kick your ass out of here.
Mm-hmm. That's like a Scientology front or something.
It is, yeah. It's kind of like that. So we dealt with that guy, and that was just funny. And then he kept telling us about just Black Mist. Remember that. Remember Black Mist. And we are just like giving us all these vague, you know, like threats, cyber threats. And
what's that? What do you mean Black Mist?
I have no idea. I guess we were supposed to be afraid that like we were gonna get hacked or banned.
Is that like a virus or something?
Yeah.
The usual powerless thing. You know when kids are arguing. Or they're scared in their backyard and they hear noise, and then one kid tells the other kid, "You got the Uzi, right? Okay, good. I'm going to load up my shotgun." Like it's that kind of. That's the internet version of kids doing that.
That's creepy though.
Huh. Black Mist.
Yeah. So that fool got his. And so then we kept going through different areas, and the next we ended up at some kind of bar. It was on a spaceship, and it was like. It was all pornoed out in there. The walls, as usual, has picture frames, and they're like animated GIFs. You know,
is there anything not all pornoed out in that game? Like, is there like what's the percentage of porno land to non-porno?
I think if you see like on a friend or a family member's computer, you see like a Second Life icon on their desktop, you can assume they're into some fucking kinky shit. You should just assume everything.
It's all porno shops and like the corporate little headquarters where they have. Nike's going to have an event today,
right?
In between your shenanigans.
This space bar, it started off bad. Like upstairs, there's a dancing stage with a bunch of poles, and it's in a hot tub. This would be a pretty good strip club. I'm saying if it was real, right? Because it's like a hot tub all around the stage, and you can just sit in there and kind of like wank if you want while the people are dancing. So instead of doing that, we rolled in force. And I'm like, all right, everyone, get on those fucking poles. So the poles have the animation, and they'll make you dance. And very elaborate. Like we're talking, you know, Prince of Persia type shit, where someone like really sweated like the details. I mean, they were like using like mocap reference and everything. Like,
are these user-made animations?
I've seen
too?
like a real stripper named like Venus do the exact same dance. I'm playing, but
these must be the user, right? Because
they're user-made, of course.
Okay.
Everything is user-made,
right?
Yeah, it's like the Lindens didn't say we need to give a good pole dance for this club, so the people made it, and you go up there and it's rad when you see that character I got, and it's doing like a woman's dance. But then there's like this like package in there. It's just like kind of crazy. So all the people, we're all doing that, all these polls. And people start clearing out. Like, they don't want any of this because there's tip jars and stuff. And that's another way. People make money. They'll just leave their avatar dancing or they'll talk to you. And people will actually pay them money. Like, that was a good dance. And then people start all jumping out of the hot tub like someone, like, farted in it or something. And then the security will kick us out.
I need to shower after this podcast.
Dude, I haven't even gotten there. So we're like, okay, we could deal with this. In that same place, so we started exploring after we got kicked out of that club in the same area. Somehow we found this subterranean cavern, and it's more kinky shit there. Like, there's just these, in the game, there's these balls, and, like, those, you go up to them, and they're, like, interact nodes, and you'll look at it, and it'll be, like, get eaten out, and the other one will be, like, do the eaten out. And so you click. This is Second Life, man. You guys are looking at me. We're going to have to censor this. Okay, because it gets...
This is the game.
Okay, so...
Parents, if you haven't turned this off yet... Which you should have about 20 minutes ago.
You see all this.
Turn it off.
Stop complaining about Mass Effect.
Yeah, exactly. The whole time we're playing this, like, people are making up this crap in Mass Effect. When this game, like, I haven't even gotten to, like, this is the softcore stuff. And then down there, it started getting a little creepier. There's, like, all these vines on the ground. And then someone's like, I think Anthony was going up to it, and we're like, dude, don't go over there, man. That does not look good. And sure enough, he interacts with it, and then the vines just, they like strap him down, and it's like tentacles coming up, and they start doing what you imagine.
Okay.
That's in the same area. So then, okay, there's some other really good things about this trip, I gotta say. We went to the Bukkake Club. We walk in. And,
what was it called again?
The Bukkake Club.
Oh.
And it's like, the first thing we get in there, James is like, dude, it's raining. And someone's like,
Is this James Milky?
no, James
okay.
is someone in our group. And then we're like, it's not rain, dude.
Do you need to go any further?
And then in this club, it's the usual. Everyone is like supposed to be super sexy looking, and we come in there, and some of them will laugh, and a lot of them will just get angry to the point where most worlds we go in, we'll get kicked the second we appear. People see us, and it's like, dude, no. Like, we reserve the right to review service to anyone, and like all we needed was a glimpse of your ass. No, we don't want you in here.
So is that, just to interrupt for 1 second, that's how it works? That these places are like user owned?
Yeah.
So they can just say you're out?
Yeah,
Sort of
so-
like a server.
Yeah, and if they have those people in there, if they have,
Some kind of mod.
proprietors,
okay.
that are in there that kick you, and it was just our luck to arrive in the Bukkake Club when there was no one there, and everyone was
How
telling
lucky.
us to get out. And so as we explore in there, I mean, it's so messed up. There'll be like there's a unicorn in there, and you go up to it and interact, and it's like you lay down spread eagle, and the unicorn uses its horn, and I mean, then there's like the submission swing. And then, okay, hold on. The details are gross, but they're going somewhere good. So Rory got his character, and it's just the most disgusting looking thing ever. It looks like some kind of crazy Harlequin baby, and he got it stuck in this submissive animation from a sex swing. So that means when he got off of it, he was on his back on the ground, but he could still move around in that position. And then in this game, there's physics, so when you bump into someone, it hits them. So we started doing like bozo bowling with him, where like you throw him in this position with the big, he's got an erection, of course, and he's in this position.
Well, of course.
You throw him through the crowd, and you see him skating around, knocking everyone over.
I wish somebody had a photograph of this scene right here.
I have.
Sean is gleefully... No, I mean of this scene. Sean is gleefully going on about this. And Ryan, Sean, and me all have our head in our hands.
You guys
We're all
should be
like
doing
closing
this.
our eyes like,
Dude,
oh, God.
if you never
I'm just
bowled with
picturing
the
it.
gimp that's locked in a submissive position and knocked the dudes over, because there's like a big a minotaur naked in there, and we were already fighting with him because he was like telling us we were ugly, and I told him that I would serve his unit on Fear Factor if he didn't shut up. So then so then we're like, all right, then you want to learn how we bowl? Just start bowling his ass over. We're all trying it. And then later we found out that you can get sound files in the same way that you can get that you can add all these parts to your body. You can get these sounds, and we heard this because someone was like farting and queefing in this area, but it was like supposed to be.
Of course they were.
Erotic though. You could see their talk.
Of course it was.
And we found out how to do it, and we couldn't get him to give us those files. Oh, we really needed them, but we got air raid sirens. And we replicated that to everyone in our group so that we could get like the fucking air raid sirens going and then loop them. So like we'd all take turns, like, okay, now you. And it'd be like, and super loud throughout the whole world. And people are like saying that it was assault and that we were assaulting them with it. And yeah, I'm just saying, I think everyone should go in there. Not to that. You
After
can do
this
light.
story,
You can do
everyone
light
tried
Who
that.
wouldn't
stuff.
want to?
Like we go to the beach and there's like, because if there's say an animation to lay down on a beach blanket, there's always one for like another person to join them. It's like a male position or a female position or just two mutual cuddlers or whatever. So you go up to like some bohunk looking dude and you take like your nasty ass character and you like throw down in its lap, and it for like, I mean, it's all animated, so like it's a tender embrace, It looks like a honeymoon scene. And then as soon as they see it, they jump up immediately. It's like the raddest thing. They start yelling at you. What the hell are you supposed to be? Get out of here. I
Who
didn't
the hell
ask.
is just like laying on a lounge chair inside? I mean,
That's the thing, man.
And he was at his computer so he could respond to you sitting
Yeah.
there. What the hell?
And they know, too, the whole conspicuous consumption theme in the game is so ingrained that they could tell our shit was free because Anthony got all this bling for his character, which looks like, Cthulhu is all tentacles. His is like a Cthulhu of like phalluses because he just stuck so many on his face. And it's wearing gold. It's like wearing bling. So if you imagine a Cthulhu of the dong with a giant money sign in like 14 karat gold and all stout, and had a mustache. And wait, why was I bringing him up? Oh yeah, they'd tell him like nice free gold, dude. Like that's what they noticed.
yeah, that was the problem.
Nice free gold. Like
Yeah.
they totally recognized, just like that other guy. He recognized we had a bunch of shit
Right.
from Freebie Island,
So it's a class war inside this game.
It is, dude. This other game, it was kind of a crazy. On some level, I don't want to compare Battlefield to Heroes to Second Life, but that same principle,
you
though,
may not want to.
where you just, you're hanging with people and you're like, let's just do this, and then you go and have a great time with whatever. We also got into this game that just a YouTube video has been going around for. It's called Noah's Adventure 2, the Zoo Race, and this one is God, I'm
afraid.
trying to offend everyone in this.
I know. Just think of that.
No one is unscathed.
So, the Zoo Race game, it's supposed to be a Christian game, and it's about like after Noah's Ark, on the the flood that lasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and after it sets down on Mount Ararat, and the animals get out and they need to exercise. Well, there's like races between the animals, like foot races, so you can go the fastest, and this is the point of this game. And you're one of the animals, and it's got a cast of including Hannah the horse and Cain the cougar and Priscilla the pig and so on and so forth. But it's some crazy ish though.
Where did you get wind of this game? What was it from YouTube?
Videos
That's how you
going around,
found it.
promotional.
Okay.
They put it. The Cougar Interactive, the makers of the game, put the YouTube video up to promote it. And it kind of became a meme of its own.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for them because you know how vicious people are on YouTube commentary. So they started ripping on them. And so you could download the demo of this game, and that's at zoораce.com. Jeff, you're looking at me like, why you need to? You're like saying that you feel bad for them getting ripped on, and I know you're about to rip on them some more.
I might.
But the game is weird though because you play it. It's wildly anachronistic in that you're I forget what's the opposite word for when something anachronism is when you play it the other direction, so that in this time frame within this this antediluvian period, you have all this like Christian themes and scripture. You'll have stained glass windows from cathedrals that are appearing in Noah's time.
Wasn't that still anachronistic?
There's actually
that
another term
imply?
for.
Well, don't people
not
who are
get-
hanging out in a library, like in modern times, get turned into the animals and transported into the past? Isn't that the setup?
Yeah, I thought that was the backstory.
That's part of the story, but I can't even understand. I mean, I have some
dense.
snippets from that story
Okay.
to show you, and they're weird. But so the whole time you're playing, like there'll be fools throwing explosive barrels at you, and you ride on a rocket, and there's like a World War II vintage Corsair flies down and tries to bomb you when you're racing.
That's all in Genesis.
Noah's reading as you're racing. Noah's reading scripture to you from the New Testament. So, and Noah sounds like a really weird ass dude because he does the announcing for the race too. So he'll want you to he'll want to let you know who's winning, who's losing. So it'll be like, in the lead, Hannah the horse, followed by Cain the cougar. and then all of a sudden you'll hear, you will be thrown into the lake of fire. And as you're racing, all of a sudden there's like geysers of flame shooting up and stuff. And that, of course, is a quote from the New Testament. And same thing, I stand at the door.
This sounds like a South Park episode.
It does.
More than a game.
The craziest thing about it, the game is hilarious.
Now, the point of the game,
You play
right?
this game, you laugh. You hit spacebar to make animal sounds when you race.
But all this anachronistic stuff you're talking about are the shooting barrels. I mean, this is just to give, I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, this is to give families who would be predisposed to not like video games or distrust video games to be able to say, I'm going to let my kid play games, but I'm going to this Christian-friendly site where I can get a game that will not offend my sensibilities, right?
Right.
And so this is just incorporating basic, racing platformy gameplay into something that's got a Bible theme. Right?
Loosely Bible theme. But the
Loosely
problem, of
Bible
course,
theme.
is that it's not teaching you anything about the Bible because this stuff has nothing to do with the Bible. It's getting it all out. I mean, maybe sometimes the lines that you hear might come from a King James translation of the Bible, but everything is in this weird jumble and out of context. And again, the interesting thing is, of course, the story of Noah is about every animal on the planet being destroyed, save for 2 of each kind. And it's supposed to be this game about, man and God's love for animals, Mm-hmm. And it's like, these are fun animals. They like to jump explosive barrels and run through lakes of fire. It's like, it's kind of weird to me that the whole story, because the whole story of Noah is such an absolutely, misanthropic.
I want to know why Noah was reading from the New Testament.
I don't know how that
That's
happened.
one of the issues here.
The other key feature is that there's these songs playing, and we got a sample of one, and we'll play it right about now. And you heard that right.
Hopefully we put it in there.
As you're playing, and the guy's talking about, use me, fill me, and all these other awkward,
It's going back to the Second Life story now.
But the thing that's interesting for this game for me, it's always fascinating to see these kind of works where you imagine if you're Christian and you're living your life according to Scripture, there's not much room for a lot of the things that people do in their lives normally, for the secular things they do, but they know they like them, and they don't want to get rid of them, understandably so. So they try to find a way to justify it. Mm-hmm. So in this case, it's like, I like making video games. I like video games. How do I do a video game that sits right with my faith and that sits right with my God? And then you end up with these really weird, awkward things like this, where you're like, you made this weird game, and now you're trying to say that it's like glorifying God.
Right. I mean, to be fair, there's probably games that do this across the spectrum of any interest group that has any particular agenda to push, right? Or belief system, say. Like I could probably find some green-friendly games online.
Oh yeah, totally.
That kind of stuff.
And educational.
Help Skippy the hamster save the environment.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's there. My experience, because I grew up going to Christian churches, and so it's like I know it firsthand. So I've seen Christian comic books and music and all these things where it's just the most awkward fit. Where you're like, really, if you're gonna live according to the way you're supposed to be, according to your faith, you probably shouldn't be doing this at all. And it's kind of waja when you go that far to justify it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to cast stones on it. I'm speaking not on behalf of our magazine or anything, but just my own experience. When you get, certainly, this is a weird game. I don't see it being a useful instructional tool for a person of.
Well, the thing that struck me the most of all of this was I went to the MySpace page because you linked to it to me, Sean, before the podcast, and that music that hopefully played earlier. What disturbed me the most is it's described on that MySpace page as classic hard rock.
Yeah, and inspired by Elvis Costello and Led Zeppelin. The other interesting thing about that to come out is that there's a review. Here's a review of a game, and I want to read it a few lines. And this was linked on the media page on the website for the game as Zoo Race hits a home run. So the review says, "Y'all know me. I do not go along with the rest of the lemmings following the logic of the world. Instead, I go to God and listen to what He has to say about video games. Finding games like Zoo Race on the personal computer is something I love to do, but God gets the glory because finding out about this game was His handiwork, not mine." So that was really weird to me. Like the fact that of all the things,
God did the PR on this game.
Yeah, God did the PR and showed him. He's like, "Check this out, man." And like that the fact that God has anything to say about video games in the first place is kind of, it goes back to my thing, like really, like, hey, no offense, like if you want to do something to glorify God, I don't know if Zoo Race is exactly the best way about it.
On the other hand, if God did do PR on this game, we probably want to give it a good review, I'm thinking.
That's true, but
I don't want to.
There might be some retaliation.
There's always some intellectual acrobatics that you can perform, though, when you're that persuasion. You could say that we're allowed to that Satan is using us to distort the message and confuse people, dissuade them from getting the good stuff that is Zoo Race.
Also, I just fixated on that headline. Zoo Race hits a home run. Hi, duh. You make the racing metaphor. Zoo Race hits a home run.
Right.
Zoo Race comes in first or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is.
You don't put the baseball
mixed
metaphor in the racing game thing. That's just basic.
So if you are interested, the soundtrack is available at cougarinteractive.com for the very biblical price of $7.77.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And the game, the full version of the game, the demo is free. The full version of the game is $17.77. And the other thing about it that's fun to do that was entertaining is that you can do a dance party. And that's basically you go in the ark with Noah, and he's got this altar, the sacrificial altar, where the animals are normally, burned and sacrificed. But this one, there's like Technicolor light and smoke coming out of it, and the animals are chilling because they're not going to get sacrificed on it. So they're all spinning around in the room, and if you click them, they'll spin out more and make sound. And Noah, you can get him doing 360s too. But as he's doing it, and the songs are playing, you get to choose which song in the soundtrack that plays in this party. And he'll still say the same lines. He's talking about like going to the lake of fire and stuff as he's like having a hoedown with all these animals.
You can't get the Britney.
That's why this whole time it got awkward. You guys are looking at me like, dude, we're gonna get so much trouble for this. But I'm telling you, no. Like if, everyone who's like a devout Christian, and I have to apologize for the Second Life thing, but who's listening will be like, yeah, dude, Noah and the dance party, nah, not so much.
Right.
Like, that's nothing.
I'm just wondering who else we could offend on this podcast. Because we've hit the sex,
but
the bukkake games.
The sex is, I had a report on that. That was
a report, yes.
That was a report.
All the people that are freaking out about sex in games. Second Life, man, there's fouler stuff than that. I saved you guys.
Do that on your After Hours podcast.
Well, I did put up some pics on my, I linked to them on a couple threads on my put file folder, some of a photo album from our a travelogue, if you will. You could see those characters I told you about.
They're worth looking at, I have to say. They're a bit hard to unsee.
You looked at them? You have seen them?
I saw his character sitting on that.
Seen him?
I haven't seen him yet.
I saw him laying in that guy's arms in the beach. Yeah, I saw that photo.
You saw me with the bong and the beer hat.
All right, I saw you in the head shop. Right.
Out in the street. Mm-hmm. This is Rory's character when he figured out how to like make his phallus like 5 feet long.
This is an epiphany, a moment.
This is your job. What a pretty great job to have.
Talk about that. Well, I did that on my free time. I was extracurricular activity.
Yeah, this was bonus material.
Uh-huh.
It's a game. Can't play it at work. Oh, there is. To be fair, though, all of Second Life isn't that way. I do suspect that everyone in there is a freak of some sort, but like NPR has like many spaces in there. And I actually did go to the NPR Science Friday auditorium, and I just tucked my unit away and put on my panties and went into check.
How respectable of you.
NPR.
So you went into the NPR Science Friday auditorium in that.
There wasn't a recording going on, so there weren't very many people, but I just was chilling. I was like, science.
Well, so normally when they do the Science Friday show, there'll be people sitting in
there, and they'll stream it live in there. There's a lot of stuff like that where people will there'll be like a street musician, and you could buy his or her album right there, and you could play it. Like they will be playing it in the world. You know, you could shut it off if you don't want to hear it, but they'll be playing it. And so there's a lot of stuff like that. Then another thing, I feel bad. I went into like some like women's only thing, and it turned out I think it was like it was all like kind of like hipster lesbian characters in there, and they were like having some serious talk, and then I just went up and crawled into one of their laps, and it was like supposed to be women only in there, but I still had my unit on, and I was like, it's post-op, let me chill. Sorry.
And did they let you?
Yeah,
were they okay with that?
They were like, okay.
They cool with that?
They kicked me actually after I didn't quite fit the vibe.
Well, that's a surprise.
But if you wandered around long enough, you'd find Moses's dance club from Zoo Race in there too.
Yeah,
there's
entirely
Disney,
possible.
There's Star Wars theme stuff. That's another place. I got kicked out of every place. They have Star Wars theme, and they have battles because you can have guns. But there are places you go and they're like, you got to take your weapons off, and it's like this Mos Eisley type theme thing. And they have the Millennium Falcons out there, but there's these benches in the cantina. And they pay you like 3 lindens for every 10 minutes you sit there. And the reason they do this, again, it's like this is the fun of this whole game is the things that people come up with that basically parallel the real world. And that's if you run this, if you have this property and you're selling things in it and you have businesses going on it and entertainment, all these are in scare quotes. You attract more in the same way that people complain about lines, but if you form a line, they'll join in.
Sure.
You ever do this? Just go stand in front of a wall somewhere with 3 deep.
Sure.
And next thing you know, there'll be like 10 people behind you.
Yep.
So they want you to just make it look like their world is active and popular. So you sit on the bench. They wouldn't even let me do that. I sat on that bench trying to make some free money to go buy some more crack pipes, and they were like, they kicked my ass out.
Yeah. Well, you're probably not attracting more customers looking that way.
It was bad for business.
Sir, can you? Yeah.
But yeah, they have Transformers. They have every kind of theme you can imagine. Like you can get parts and become a Transformer if you want. And,
see, suddenly Ryan's looking up.
Hey, Ryan's all, whoa, you can?
I can be Bumblebee?
Yeah.
Cool.
With my character driving in the front seat, man.
All right.
Second Life has gotten more airtime on this podcast than I ever
think
hoped.
you should try it. It's one of those, you don't want to do it alone. You'll feel like really awkward and embarrassed if you do it alone. It's kind of like when you're, strength in numbers, when you're like 18 and you go into like the porno shop and you want to go with your friends and you all just be like laughing at stuff. You don't want to be like the one dude in there alone going to the counter with like a stack of 20 rental videos.
It's not so funny when you're as I've read. Okay, so but let me ask you, if I download Second Life or if one does and I'm not predisposed to want to go to the Bukkake Club, what's just like I make my person, I go into the world. Like, what's the default, like, regular stuff you're going to see? Because that stuff's, like, hidden away in the back alleys, right? I mean,
no, you can go to regular, you can go to non-adult, all ages areas, and you could buy, bikes and motorcycles. Like, I got a bicycle.
Why would you want to do that, though?
With, like, a pinwheel that I could do jumps on. That's another thing. You could fly in this game. Everyone can automatically fly. So then you fly up above like a big crowd of people.
Really?
And then you turn off flight.
Jeez,
so you
it took me
face
3 years to be able to do that in WoW.
So you can do it right away in this. You don't need a legendary mount. And I could fly on my bike. The bike, it's got a pinwheel and a banana seat. But then I'll go up, you fly above a big crowd, and then you turn off flight and you do a face plant, like buck-ass naked, like right in the middle of all these people. All of a sudden you just like splat.
Can you die?
Like some Donnie Darko shit. And they all look at you like, whoa, dude. It's the one.
There's no death or anything, right? Or
there's I've seen. I don't know if it's some kind of weird role play thing. I've seen in like a back alley. There's some area where like you can play a murder victim or something. Oh, God. And they're laying there with like a knife in them. That's why. I mean, I'm not even getting there. There's full on. We saw full on torture dungeons and stuff. Like some seriously repugnant stuff. I'm not as nasty as it is. Like if you think of the dirtiest thing on the internet you ever accidentally saw.
Accidentally
Searching for anything basically on Google and you forgot to have safe search on. Doesn't matter what, you put in any word you want.
Someone who's into that. Huh.
They got it on
I'm
there.
compelled now. I think I have to.
Are you going to download Second Life now?
I think I have to.
It's funny. It's fun. It's fun.
I think I'm going to go on alone too.
Ryan,
Go
are
in,
you?
man.
We'll see.
It's like a dare. Are you going to take a drink?
I'm not
I will
afraid.
if you will.
I'll do it.
I've done worse than all of this in real life, so.
And you'll feel right at home in there.
Yeah.
Just make sure to stop by, go by the head shop and answer Dan and tell them that I recommended the beer hat.
What was your character's
Free
name?
refills.
Go get my Minotaur.
Actually, I
suit
should be
back
careful
from the
about it
cleaners.
because then people would start auto banning me. I don't want to get some kind
you
of
don't wanna be
scenario
on the
where
list.
everyone like just
Here he comes.
automatically before I even get there, I find out that I'm not allowed in.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, when they immediately kick you from an area, because there's like sectors, maybe it's just from a specific property and you're still allowed in the area, we found ways to kind of like get back in, like some kind of hole in the building or something to come back in, or you just like go around and crowd around the window. We could all line
like
up.
peer into the window.
Just like look in. Yeah,
do
like
that?
if they kicked you. Yeah, like
you can just spectate.
you could look in there, yeah. It's like it depends. Some areas I've had where they've kicked me, and it's like it might be from like a larger area, and it kind of just drops you outside of it, and there's like a do not you can't enter type warning. In others, it's just a specific business, and like we've been able to go up and chill at the window.
But they would have to build in their own windows. Like that's something they would allow.
Yeah, they build.
We
they
want
have
people to be able
windows
to
in.
watch us do this crap.
Yeah. The other thing too that you could do, the fun of just when you have, it's all the secret is in having the most messed up character that you can make, but you want to do it within limits too, because some of the guys that I play with, their characters are just so completely dumb looking that it's like, what even is that? Like not even like even nature is not
human,
such is not even that cruel, you know. Like like if you want to be human enough so that you're like the most nastiest human someone's ever seen, but you still qualify as a human. And then you do another thing. Like I went to this like some kind of like Latin dance thing, and they had like a big dance floor, and everyone's dancing. It's like all synchronized, doing the same thing. You go in there and just start dancing with them, and it's like one of these kids is doing his own thing because all of them are like in pretty dresses and suits and stuff, except for me.
So, were there other people? There weren't any other people playing it like you? Like you were the only.
We were the only
show?
ones, dude. We were the only ones that were. I know other people. It's not like we're the only ones because I've seen.
Got to be plenty of other people griefing and.
But the whole time we were in, we were the only ones that were like that messed up. Everyone else, they were more in my mind like the big guy that was like a Minotaur thing. He was more messed up to me because he was serious about it. He's like,
he was serious, right?
I'm going to make a Minotaur with a boner. That's what I want to be.
That's what he wants to. That's his aspiration.
And I'm going to argue with people when they make fun of my Minotaur with the boner. Like that guy is more messed up by far than us, but I don't think
this is where
he
doesn't be a Minotaur.
Right, at least he has there's a place for him in the world now.
Yeah,
he didn't have this before.
Right. If
He
he
has an
tried to
outlet
do this
now.
in real life, he'd have a problem. Here he can be.
Second life, whatever the hell he wants.
Right.
he can. That's the point.
I'm happy for him,
All your fantasies come true there.
Minotaur man. You go, I say.
I think I actually
Away from me. Don't do it near me, but you go.
You don't have to go in the club.
So what?
Do we have anything else? Where do we go from here? I don't know. We may just leave after this, like
Is that
forever. Well, we have Legendary Thread coming up.
Oh yeah.
Any
but,
minute now.
Any
We
minute.
can talk till someone knocks on the door.
We can.
Oops.
We had a couple more items. Those fucking assholes from Legendary Thread are coming in.
I hate them
wait.
so much.
Oh wait,
That's
three of you.
us. What more do we have? Oh, right. We could circle back to Ryan's Tale of the Cock.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So he was dressed up like a Minotaur.
So the book, The Tale of the Cock, is
Tale of the
the
Cock.
book
It actually
guy dressed up like a rooster.
Right. It actually relates to Gamecock and Mike Wilson. If you didn't see the story over the weekend, there was a fairly epic flame war between Mike Wilson and John Romero because Ion Storm is just the clusterfuck that keeps on giving, man. 10 years later, it's still the fallout continues, and I found this story to be a little bit sad. Actually, I was sort of, I sent you guys the link over the weekend, and I was like, haha, let's read these out loud. But
really, you were crying.
Inside, I was crying. Yeah, actually, openly,
Jeff?
I did a little bit. I had to have my wife hold me. Mike Wilson's so mean. Well, it's just this company.
Give us a history lesson.
I'll give you a minor history lesson, which is that way back in 1996, Mike Wilson, John Romero, Tom Hall left id, where they worked very successfully on Doom and Quake and other projects, and they formed Ion Storm. Most of what we know about Ion Storm is kind of the rest is history. I don't have to blather on about that. We know, the nightmare that was Daikatana. We know all the ludicrousness over their idiotic PR attempts, the suck it down bitch and all that stuff. And I mean, basically, this was a company that started off poorly and then imploded.
It's so hard to imagine Warren Spector working with these guys.
Well, he wasn't part of the initial group.
Yeah.
Right.
And in fact, he didn't
was.
even work in the same city as
Okay.
them. He was a real savior to the name of
Deus
Ion
Ex
Storm.
was-
Deus Ex at least gave them, some credibility. It had nothing to do with all the guys from the original company.
Right.
Though I will say, and I've said it before, that Tom Hall's Anachronox is a brilliant and overlooked game. So Ion Storm, that was the last official release from Ion Storm, and I loved that game. But it was too little too late at that point. But the story's about the mismanagement that went on at Iron Storm were fairly legendary. We heard them all the time. It was obvious from the constant delays in the game. The feuds between these guys who were all designers and not managers originally when they were at id. It just was a classic argument of why you actually need like management administrative people in a group of artistic type people.
Yeah.
Because some people are better at some things than others. And so these guys imploded, and Mike Wilson left in 1997 to start Gathering of Developers, which lasted until, I want to say 2000, 2001 or so. And then he went on to form something called Substance TV, which was this DVD magazine. I don't know if you remember that whole era.
I don't remember
when people
that at
thought
all.
it was a good idea to put magazines on CDs or DVDs. So that lasted a whopping 7 issues, and then that went belly up. And now he's at Gamecock, of course, and they put Fury out a little while ago. So, but this guy is a notorious kind of what do you want to say? He's kind of a jokester and a loudmouth and a
Dragon Quest jokester.
Yeah, he was in.
He tried to cast a spell.
he was in the news a little while ago because of the Spike TV Awards. Is that right? It was those awards that he and the Gamecock guys crashed. They crashed the party at the Spike TV Awards right when Ken Levine was accepting an award for BioShock for Game of the Year, actually. And these guys crashed and went on stage and spouted some nonsense. And then had to issue a public apology the next day for being so immature. That's just who these guys are. It's kind of frat party, with these guys well into their 30s. But whatever. I'm certainly casting no stones in that after this podcast.
But this started
about the immaturity of guys.
But this started with John Romero wrote, he publicly. What
right. Okay. So the origin of this latest round is that these guys have been on the outs, the original Ion Storm guys, for many, many years. They went their own separate directions. Mike Wilson went one way, John Romero went the other. And what happened over the weekend was Romero posted. Oh gosh, was it on his own website? I may get this wrong, and I apologize, but I printed it out here, what Romero's response was to the fact that Mike Wilson announced the release schedule for the upcoming Gamecock games, which includes such titles as Hail to the Chimp,
The Box.
What else are they got working on? The Ninja... Mushroom Men. Anyway, a bunch of really winning-sounding titles. And Romero posted this. So over, what? I meant that for real. I'm looking forward to Hail to the Chimp.
No scare quotes there.
Yeah, no scare quotes. I meant it. John Romero wrote this. I'll read the whole thing because his is shorter. The Mike Wilson thing goes on, is an epic rebuttal, but Romero's goes like this. So over on Kotaku, they have a news item about Gamecock's release schedule. Once again, just like with God Games, Wilson is taking all the credit away from the indie devs and pasting his asinine logo everywhere. I got a chuckle out of reading the readers' comments on the article. People are now starting to get a clue about how Mr. Wilson operates. Hey, everyone, he hasn't changed in over 10 years. These are the kinds of jackass stunts he pulled at Ion Storm with Daikatana. Remember the bitch ad? Yeah. He also ran ads that just had pictures of Ion Storm founders, himself, and our COO. That was just the beginning of his madness. It got much worse at God Games, where he pretty much just partied all the time, and after the whole thing got reined in by Take-Two, he went underground for a while, waiting for his next victim investor so he could go hog wild all over again. And thus was born Gamecock. So, Romero posts this out of the blue.
Yeah.
And, Sean's making a face, and it really does beg the questions like, man, you don't want to be throwing stones when you're John Romero. You really just don't. And you don't have to know a whole lot about the history of Iron Storm to know that, especially as John Romero, you don't want to be casting blame for the failures of that company on the other guys.
Right.
But Mike Wilson saw this post, and then he wrote a response that was it's just utterly brutal.
It's vicious.
It just rips him apart. 10 Ways to Sunday.
He's clowning on how many divorces Romero's had, how many bastard children that he allegedly has.
Yeah.
How many bad breast implants that he's paid for.
Right.
You got to have
and
some
then he goes
highlights
so
in
far
there,
as to
Jeff.
offer, he says that if like Romero's most recent lover, who's a Hungarian, ditches him, then he'll hook him up. I guess he's in Russia. Wilson was in Russia at the time of writing, and he says, I'll hook you up with a Russian bride if you...
Right. It gets very personal later.
That's an idea for how personal this...
It's a case study that you could download and keep as boilerplate for how to write a flame, because he rips him a new one so hard. And the beginning, just the very beginning of it, I'll read, which is, Dear John, I'm writing this letter from Moscow, having just read your lovely post about me, which a good friend forwarded me and implored me to reply to. I really never thought I would relive the joy that was Ion Storm circa 1997, or that the memories of those times still troubled you so much 11 years later. Then again, I would guess you live in the memories of your 20s as much as you can, given the reality of your 30s. Glad to know I'm still in your thoughts. So that's the first paragraph. I'm scanning because, yeah.
Jeff doesn't even want to read it.
It gets
so
bad. But most recently, then Romero replied again to this and sort of just took the high road and just said, actually ended it with like, I look forward to seeing the Gamecock games.
Well, I took that as pretty facetious.
Yeah, right. But it was very like, okay, this is it. We don't need to continue.
Well, actually, I'll read you the conclusion. I read you the beginning and then the conclusion of Wilson. The last sentence is, you take care now, and remember, just because id, IDOS, and then Midway fired you doesn't mean you're not still awesome. Suck it down, your pal Mike. But what's sad to me is, like, these guys actually used to be friends. They used to be business partners. The company ended 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're having this public bitch fest in which neither of them, frankly, looks good.
Right.
Certainly you got to understand Mike Wilson's desire to respond over Romero's pretty pointless and unprovoked, little
jab
at him.
Right, absolutely. He's just asking for it.
Mike Wilson, the people listening can't see this tail of the cockbook that I'm holding up, but it's like, dude, when you're this dude, these pictures in this book, you've given up your right to ever make a post like that. Like,
really?
Well, I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, this book, the Gamecock is not.
Let me see that, Ryan.
It's not holding themselves up as, mature kind of, elder statesmen of the gaming industry. Again.
Did they ever claim they were going to?
But I don't.
No.
But I don't think they did. I mean, I think maybe what I would like to say about this whole thing is, like, I wish they would all just go away.
Yeah.
Just go away, make your games.
It all just makes me cringe. Just like,
it's very immature stuff that
I don't want to be involved in this.
Was Mike Wilson actually in the group that crashed the Spike TV?
I don't think
he was personally in that
I think
group,
it was some other Gamecockers.
Okay.
And again, it's a little bit hard to cast aspersions on the maturity level of the gaming industry
when you got me
after the podcast that we just had.
Take all that back. Let's just delete that.
Second Life. It was all real. It all happened.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's good. I'm ashamed now.
You should be, young man.
Don't be ashamed.
No, don't be ashamed. We're all going to download Second Life.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't apologize. It was pretty fun to see that thing I made on doing a pole dance.
I really do want to see it myself. I don't think we can
host these photos or video on any Ziff Davis servers.
No, and I want to take videos, man. Oh my god,
so bad.
And I'm saying, like, we were like literally to the point, when you laugh so hard when you're crying, and you had to like turn off vent for a minute and just like get your breath back. And when you first see what you could do to your characters and the stuff and when you see them in these positions, like someone. it all just comes back to me giving more anecdotes of the disgusting things you did. But like there will be a couple people engaged in in orgiastic sex, and there's like another opening up in the front, so you can go in and pop in there. And again, it's like the ultimate form of party crashing, right? But then you zoom in, and your character, when they do the animations, it even goes so far as to animate your face, and it's supposed to be in ecstasy or whatever. And so like in this, I joined in this orgy thing. And my character's like looking over at the guy next to me, and it's got like the most gross bug eyes with giant eyelashes, and like still sucking the straw from the beer hat. And it looks over at him, and it's just like batting eyelashes at the other guy who's also involved in the.
What do? You just like right click on an attach point or something?
Yeah, and just jump right on in.
There it goes.
And then there might be other
orgy.
options too. Like so, while that'll just get you
radial menu,
get you pumping right away. But then there might be other options in the radio menu. Yeah, like to do different styles and make different sounds, and then they'll be talking to each other as it's going, making their own sounds and stuff. It's pretty wow, something else.
It's the ultimate fantasy generator.
No, I hate it.
You love it.
I was just thinking, oh my God, dude, if my mom ever listened to this thing, I didn't even think about that, dude. We had a lot of explaining to do.
Okay, now we know how to hold this over Sean from now on.
Yeah, I'm going to tell your mom.
Are we done for this week?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
we're
it.
done. I'll feel worn out.
I'd like to log out of this
I
podcast.
wore you out. Wore you out with my stories.
/ quit.
Okay, let's wrap it up then. Frogs says goodbye.
Okay, Frogs is going to take us out this week. We'll see you next week.
Frogs makes a squealing noise.
Yeah, Frogs does.